It takes time, but
What's up, y'all? It's definitely gonna take time, but it's okay. Welcome back. I have a special guest with me today. I've been doing a lot of random stuff, just trying things out, and that's okay. So I tried to do an interview a couple of days ago with our guest Amber Smith, who made some really awesome necklaces for me that I'm gonna get into in a second. But we did an interview and there was no sound. So I mean, everything happens for a reason. So I was just like, okay, it's cool. I will just come meet you at your house and we'll talk about it. Now, I really wanted to get into this because y'all know my love of crystals. And so I had contacted Amber a few weeks ago about getting 2 crystals wrapped for me to make into a necklace. And there's stores where you can get the tools to make one on your own, which I do recommend to do. But for myself and for the moment, I felt like it defeated the purpose because what I wanted them for, I didn't want my energy. I wanted someone that could literally just cleanse it, make sure it's like I'm starting on a clean slate and actually get the most out of him for that, and start on a clean state and recharge from there. But I also wanted something that just looked great right off the bat instead of having like a whole bunch of squiggly lines that don't make sense to me and doesn't look great. I wanted someone that I knew would do a really good job. And so I reached out on Facebook just asking, and someone put me in touch with Amber. And so she's like, no, you can meet up with me and set a price. And she asked me how I wanted it set. And we went from there. It took like a few days, I think. And for me, now I approached her with this because I needed aventurine, and then in my bag here, which there's a reason why I don't have this on, because of all the stuff that I told you about. I just felt like something was weird. So I just needed it off of me for a bit, and then I'm probably gonna let it sit in the sunlight, maybe the moonlight tonight actually instead.
it's a new moon.
I know. So this is black tourmaline. Oh, wrong way. And I just love the detail of it. It kind of reminds me of honeycombs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start with the black tourmaline. If you could tell me and viewers what the black tourmaline is typically for and what it would do for me.
Okay. So black tourmaline is actually honestly one of my faves. It was one of the first 3 crystals that I ever got. And black tourmaline is amazing at protecting you from negative energies. It basically absorbs the negative energy. That's why anytime someone is interested in the crystal, I always say, if you're going through some shit or you start feeling weird when the crystal is on you, like you just feel kind of off, it's time for you to cleanse it. And that means put it out in the sunlight, moonlight. You can lightly rinse it off. Do not submerge it because it's a softer crystal, so it will break apart very easily. It's just a fragile crystal, so it will do that. But those types of things can help recharge and cleanse that energy. Also, if you have like a selenite, you can just set it on top of the selenite. That will help cleanse out the energy in it. And
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, black tourmaline is one of my favorites because it's so gentle yet so powerful to help protect you. It's like if you have like a pit bull next to you. They ain't letting nobody fuck with you. That's the black tourmaline on that. Yep.
That was the first one that came to mind. Just things that I was going through, and I need black tourmaline around my neck, and that was the basis of approaching you.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I just want to bring something because I actually had it in my pocket for a reason, but I didn't know that. I didn't even think about that. So this is selenite, and she's saying that it also can help to cleanse the black tourmaline, right?
Mm-hmm. And it can used to cleanse any crystal. Selenite is what they would call like an angel crystal because it has such a beautiful high vibration. Again, it is a softer stone, so do not submerge it in water because it will break apart. But selenite is one of those few crystals that do not need to be cleansed. Because of its high vibration, it does not hold on to energy. If you want to cleanse it, that's fine, but it's not necessary with it. And like I said, you can have crystals that need to be cleansed next to it or on top of it. I have a couple selenite pieces in my house. I have a selenite bowl that a friend gave me for my birthday. And actually all the crystals that I am working on now, they actually sit in the selenite bowl for one stage of the cleansing that I do before or during my wrapping process, and then it'll be charged and intentions put into the necklace before I give it to the person.
That's really good to know because I've eyed up selenite bowls for a while. I don't feel like it's my time. I still don't, but someday.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I just never really thought about what they were used for. It never crossed my mind, but now I get it. There's a whole bunch of reasons why I know I needed the black tourmaline, why it came to me. Something about yesterday was just take this off and cleanse her. And now I
probably the reason why you weren't so affected by your situation was because it does absorb. Like I used to work at a hospital when I first had tourmaline, and that sucker, I felt like I had to cleanse it like every couple days, like literally, just because of like the shit that I was dealing with at work, and I was at the beginning of my spiritual journey, so I was becoming a lot more aware of my surroundings and what I was dealing with, and honestly, tourmaline really helped me like stay grounded and focused on what the hell was going on and not so affected with the toxic work environment that I was in. So I think that makes perfect sense that it was just like it's time to take me off and let me be cleansed because it just took all the bullshit that was around you. Also, that's what happens when they break. Like a lot of times people are very disheartened when crystals break when they have them. That is the energetic reason why they break or crack or why why the color in the crystals will fade dramatically. Perfect example, Mel was going through a time and it was a very, I forget exactly what the situation was, called out that she needed this rose quartz and she held it really, really tightly. And I do Reiki as well, and we'll talk about that in a second, but I kind of like had that Reiki energy just kind of push that towards her. And she said immediately she felt like all the energy dissipated and it was a very pink, vivid rose quartz. When she opened her hands, it was clear. And that's what happened. So if that were to happen to you, if they would break or all the color would immediately drain from the crystal, go and bury it outside in the grass, kind of deep down, give it back to Mother Earth. And that's how you recycle crystals.
Thank you for that. I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it's amazing what they do for you.
I knew that crystals fade, like if you leave them out in the sun or they get too much sunlight. But I wondered because I have an amethyst geode cut that I don't put it in the sunlight that much compared to other crystals that I utilize a lot. Now this amethyst geode sits on the desk right here from me. And so it's there all the time. So I know it's affecting me a lot, but it's faded over time. I've had it for maybe 6 months.
They will definitely fade over time. Not only time, but if they're giving you a lot of their energy and their resources, they will definitely fade, like not only with sunlight. Quick disclaimer, with the hematite rings, everybody, that's a big fad and everything like that, and they'll say, oh my God, they'll break when it's too much energy. They're also very fragile when they're in that state, so that's why they break. Like, it's not only extra energy. It's not only extra energy, they're extremely fragile. Like I shit you not, me and Mel were out to eat, and I actually had two, and we were just sitting there, and it just snapped. Or I wasn't even doing it; it just snapped. So they're very fragile as well. So it's not necessarily a expenditure of energy on why they broke. Just not everything's metaphysical. Sometimes it's just fragile.
So you were gonna bring up Reiki.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
because you were having your situation that you were talking about. So one of the things that I do with the necklaces when I have them is that I put some Reiki energy into it, and Reiki is a form of energy healing. And basically, what happens is I open myself up to the universal energy that's all around us. And if you think about my body being like a big tube, I am actually bringing in universal energy and then giving it to you in a like kind of like a funnel. So it's like a very controlled way of you receiving a lot of energy at one time. And it's not necessarily a healing thing. Like I'm not going to say I'm going to heal your depression, but you will feel a lot better afterwards. It'll help bring some things into light that are going on in your life. I can also very easily feel pains that are going on in your body, bring some extra energy there to help flow that energy through. Like a lot of times when people have body pains or extreme headaches or stuff like that, it's like a cluster of energy in one center. And depending on where it is, it could communicate a certain thing, like a problem at your job, relationship issues, things like that, whatever. And they can communicate a whole bunch of different things, and I can help you work through those things because if you work on them, the pain will go away. Like perfect example, I had a really bad pain in my back, and it was like underneath it felt like it was literally underneath my shoulder blade, and I couldn't understand it at all. And I wasn't doing a very physical job at the time either. And I went to my Reiki teacher, and she was like, while we were doing the session, pulled the energy out, and she was like, "What the hell are you dealing with right now in your heart space that's just clogging it all up?" And I'm shitting you not, tears just started flowing out. I'm like, all of this stuff, and she was like, "Okay, that was it." You know what I mean? So those type of pains are like communicating something that's not being released, something you're holding on to too tightly, and I can help either move that energy along or help you, give you tools and things like that to help you process through whatever the hell's going on. And 9 times out of give it 10 out of 10. A lot of times your ancestors want to come around and talk to you as well while you're in that state. And that's another one of my gifts is being able to speak to people who have crossed over. And that happens a lot, especially when I open up to that universal energy. They're like, oh shit, she can see me. Let me insert this message I've been trying to say for a while. So
I love that. I wish, I don't want to say I wish, but it would be nice to have that kind of gift, I guess. But awesome.
Thank you. I like it.
So one thing that you actually touched on as well was like opening up your heart. And I wanted her to do another crystal for me. I didn't know what. But this one is the one that came to me that chose to be my new friend attached to me. And this is aventurine. You can see a little bit. So I really love the detail in this one too. Now they have different styles. So that's one thing I really love is how unique they are, but they're also made by a person that is not like some huge distributor. It's someone not only that's a person of color, but excuse me, I'm like all up in the camera. Not only is it a person of color, but it's also a small business owner, which is something that we support, right? I also now this has nothing to do with her, but I just wanted to talk about it. Aqua Quartz.
Aqua Aura Quartz.
Aqua Aura Quartz. Mm-hmm. I got this from a shop in Ohio. It just kept calling out to me and didn't know anything about it. Mm-hmm. And I was helping my friend out yesterday, so I pulled out the Crystal Bible to look up green obsidian. Mm-hmm. And came across this one, and it just blew me away because it perfectly describes the point that I'm at in my life.
Yeah.
For me, crystals they're not pets. They are, to me, they're friends, they're family. They are just as important as horses, dogs, cheetahs, elephants, dolphins. And I treat them as such. That's the way that I look at it. That's all I wanted to say about like the necklaces that I have. But I do want you to tell everyone about Aventurine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I needed to open up because I could feel it. There was a buildup of when how do I put it? I just felt really mucky, and I knew it had to do with my heart chakra. Um, but it wasn't something I was actively thinking about until I chose this one. Um, and now where I'm at, I definitely feel more uh, receptive to when feelings come flooding in. It's sometimes hard for me to take it all on at once and let it like love me and shower me with the good feelings that it's supposed to have. And I welcome it. That's the difference. And like how it makes me feel. And first of all, when she pulled up to give me the necklaces, like I knew she was pulling up with the necklaces. I walked out the door
Yep.
on point. I was there. And she gives me the necklaces. I sit down on the bench and put it on, both of them. I know for a fact within 20 minutes, I felt completely different, but it wasn't until I walked home that I really felt different. And at the time, I had a lapis lazuli necklace on as well, which you don't see it today because it broke. So I put it down and decided to put the aura and the sodalite in here. But by the time I got home, I was just bouncing off the walls, feeling loved, feeling happy, and secure and safe. Um, and just a tinge of invincibility that I had to check real quick. But for that moment, it was very much needed. Um, and I mean, now it's not like that huge wow effect that it had. Like I can calmly like take it on. Before it was like, oh my god, this is a lot. This is too much. I don't know what to do about this. Whew, I need to take this off. But no. I'm good with it now. You know what I mean? And honestly, crystals, when you need them, they come to you. They call out to you. You just, if anything, I just tell people close your eyes and feel around, feel for what comes to you, or walk around. You go to a gem store, walk around and feel out what calls to you. That's the best thing that I would say.
That's literally, yeah, I love when that happens, especially if there's a crystal there that I don't know about, and I'm like, ooh, what's this one? Usually it's because it's pretty, but after that, it's like, oh, that wanted me for something. Or even not for me, just, I mean, I shit you not, plenty of times I bought a crystal and I never even worked with it or wrapped it or anything. I just put it on the windowsill, probably forgot about it, and a friend comes over telling me about X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, it's for you, and just give it like that's usually what happens. So it's like it's really fun to do that, like just to help strengthen your intuition a little bit, kind of open yourself up to what's out there and the knowledge that's out there because they know what you need. You know what I mean? You're putting it out, so that's why they're calling out to you.
Seriously, I really think it's important for us as people of color to get back in touch with crystals. And I'm not saying that we don't and we're not, because we're here. And there's a lot of other people that do. But the point of this was, I'm also really excited about this. I also like to support Black businesses, people of color, and women that are doing their thing, especially when it comes to crystals, anything spirituality oriented, or anything that is reflective of wanting to know thyself, just wanting to know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people right now are really shedding their layers of what was given to them and not what they were kind of called into. And I think that's one of the reasons why so many people are reaching towards a more spiritual aspect, even if you don't have deities that you pray to anymore. If you're just like, no, I don't want to pray to anything. I just want to work on myself. I want to work on my mind. I want to work on my body. You know what I mean? Those that in a sense is a type of spirituality. Like I think a lot of people right now are not even claiming to have a deity or a label to what they practice or what they do. You know what I mean? They're just like, this is, I'm just being me. You know what I mean? It feels good to have this type of energy in my house. They're working with energies that are for them and not something that was like instilled in them since they were born, which is difficult for a lot of people. And I think that's why a lot of people gravitate towards spirituality, because it's your own interpretation of what's happening, what's going on. Like if you have a crystal, it's what you think it is, not what someone else like black tourmaline has like mainly as a protector stone, but if it does something else for you that I have not mentioned, that's okay too, because it was made for that for you. And I think people are understanding that there is God, a higher power within you. And that's what people are really fine tuning towards. You know what I mean? It's like however that manifests, you are powerful in your own being, in your own right. And that's what people are starting to really like embody more. And that's why I really like, it doesn't have to have the label of spirituality. It's just you being you. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
When you put it as simple as that, as like you being you, I don't even want to break it into generational things or class things or race. I think it's just a level of frequency of us as a species on this planet. We all as people, I think, are really finding a sense of freedom. Maybe it's just where we are in the trajectory of us as a species in America, but in world history, maybe we're at a point where we're ready, or at least thinking collectively, to raise our frequencies to another dimension. Because where we are now, I don't think we're supposed to be here. We're supposed to be somewhere else. That's a whole nother story. But I think collectively, as like to piggyback on what off you were saying, a lot more people find the freedom within that. For me, it was less about my parents or my family, just as much as it was about my parents and my family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to knock Christianity because they're predominantly Christians, but because they instill great values in me. But with that being said, it definitely opened me up to questioning where my roots as Black people lie when it comes to spirituality. And I'm not the only one that has went on that path, adventure, journey.
Well, that can go in a bunch of different ways. So per my upbringing and beliefs, I wasn't necessarily like, I heard of Jesus and stuff like that, but the only time we ever went to church was when there was a funeral. So there really, so there really wasn't that big of a religious instilled on me growing up. So when I actually started, I didn't have any negative thoughts about spirituality, angels, deities, any of that. I didn't have any thoughts about it. I was just like, oh, and I have a naturally curious mind. So I tend to want to learn more about something that's very interesting to me. Mm-hmm. Right now, I actually practice praying and giving offerings to Orishas. And those are Black deities that are, they were in human form, and then throughout their life, they were transformed into Orishas. And there's actually, there's a lot of stories about how that was I'm still vague on it, so I'm not going to say that what I'm saying is fact, but this is just what I've learned thus far. Orishas were praised and worshipped in Africa and different African tribes. There's like 1 billion of them, and because Africa is huge. Mm-hmm. So they were mainly worshipped there. And what happened was when Africans were brought over here, obviously Christianity was instilled on the slaves, but the people still wanted to pray to their deities. So What happened is that what they would do is actually the saints are actually they would actually put the offerings to the orishas underneath the saints. So if you think of Mother Mary, that one, Mother Mary, she is actually Yemaya with the candle color. The white saint is Obatala. The yellow one is Ogun. Like they're the red one is Shango. So they were actually giving offerings to the Orishas when they were told to pray and give offerings to the saints. So that's how it kind of transitioned into Orishas to the saints. And the stories actually coincide very, very similar as well, because if you dig deep into any religion, they're all similar. Like, even if you don't want to think about it, water's giving birth, crazy earth things happening that changed the world. Someone created the heavens and the earth. Someone created humans out of, just playing around or using molding humans. You know what I mean? Where did humans get fought from? With the Orisha story, it was the Orisha got drunk and, made humans deformed and messing up or whatever. That's a whole different story in its own way. With Christianity, it was, Eve ate the apple, so everybody gets to see. They all are extremely similar. And if you look into, Celtic gods, Norse mythology, Greek mythology, Christianity, African Christianity, they're all so similar that you got to kind of take a look at it and be like, where do so I feel like that's why I never say anything about whatever somebody believes, because it's all so similar that it's like, I'm not even going to knock it, because what I believe is very similar to what you believe. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of what it is when it comes to what you're learning and the cycles that you're trying to break. You know what I mean? So when there's a thought process that comes up that kind of tug at your beliefs, I encourage you to look at it a little bit further and say, even though that's your belief, what do you believe now? Because you're different than who you were when you first believed in it. So that's how you continue to grow yourself and elevate yourself. It doesn't mean you have to stop being Christian, you stop being Muslim or whatever. It's just question and then grow yourself from there. Because when you are stuck in a thought process that's no longer serving who you are today, you're going to start feeling stagnant, sluggish. You're going to start feeling maybe more irritable and things like that. And all that is you are asking for this more. The universe is giving you the more, but now you're denying the more. You think of the contradiction when it's like you're hungry, the universe is giving you food, and you're like, no, I don't want it. There's going to be discord with you. You know what I mean? And that's my spiel on people opening up to these new religions, these new thought processes, spirituality, listening to themselves. I think people are really starting to realize how powerful they actually are in whatever sense. You know what I mean? And like, even with my intuition and all of my gifts, I'm not any special than anybody else. Like, you can hone this stuff in yourself. It just takes practice. You know what I mean? I chose to practice. So that's why it's a little bit more honed in for me, and that's all it is.
I am placing blame. This capitalistic society, work, consume, leaves people at odds with themselves, mental health issues, lacking connections to family, all those things I think have big effects on taking your body and your mind and your spirit, separating. And I think a lot of that manifests in everyone different. Some people get cancer, some people get addictions, and some people are just really horrible fucking people. That's how I look at it. And I think that so many people are fed up with the way that our society is. They're looking for answers. They know that something's wrong, it doesn't feel right, and going to something that feels right, feels just natural, makes sense. And I think for me, that's what it was for me, gravitating towards something that made sense. And I'm not saying that Christianity didn't make sense, but growing up with it, there were a lot of questions I had that I just couldn't get answers with. And then there were other things that just seemed
They tell you not to question it.
That too. But like you were saying, at its core, there were so many similarities with so many other religions and things that I took it as a joke. I stopped paying attention to it. It didn't really make any sense to me. And now I pretty much am. I study Hinduism. That's where my perception of things pretty much lie. But I don't see it any different really from Christianity uh, at its root. But someone else will beg to differ. That's, I think, also part of the beauty in it.
There's beauty in all the different religions. There's so many beautiful things that are said that are had to be said in every religion. I mean, if you don't believe that, really look into Satanism. Someone who's a Christian would be like, oh my God, they worship the devil, but I shit you not. If you look into, just look up their rules. I think it's their rules or their laws. Just look at those, and that's a simple Google search, and you will be surprised at what they believe in and what they practice. Like, it's absolutely beautiful. And it's like, but as soon as I say something about Satanism, it's like, oh my God. But it's
can't get a word out.
You're not taking it any further, and that's why I always stress, like, take a step into your uncomfortableness, so then you can grow from there. If you're uncomfortable about something, do some research to back up what you're feeling. And if you can't find anything, then that's how you shift perspective and learn and grow from that position. And I will have to say, like, just to comment on what you said about capitalism and everything, like, that's valid. Like, there is a lot of bullshit that's going on right now. But one of the things that have kept me at peace about it, because you could go on and on and on about all the negativity that's associated with it. Yes. But I take peace in knowing that there is so many people changing. There are so many things. Like, I mean, I'm only 33, and you got to think about it. The motherfuckers in power right now are about to die. Like, they're like 80 right now. So it's like, there's a lot of, like, the changes that I've seen in my life. Like, perfect example, I had no idea what a transgender person was growing up. That's literally a new thing that I've had to learn over the last 5 years, of how to respect somebody when they come out with their pronouns and things like that. Now, me personally, you can call me whatever you want. I don't care. But somebody else who takes that personally, I will respect your boundaries. And this is something I had to learn in the last 5 years to be that. And this is something I'm sure people have always felt like this. And this is when it's now coming into such a strong place to where people are able to be their true selves. This capitalism shit is about to fall, and it's about to fall so beautifully. And so that's why I'm just saying it's a waiting game.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so that's why I take peace in not being upset about what is going on right now, because I don't see value in the negativity that can keep coming off of it. It is fucked up. It shouldn't have happened. There's a lot of injustices that are going on, but it's literally it's like a rabbit hole thought process. That
no, I completely agree with you. And on that note, I think that, like, for example, for like activists, they need to have that balance. But
that's a lot of what I don't see as balance, and that's where I can see. That's why it's difficult for me to have a conversation with somebody. I actually won't have a conversation with somebody who doesn't have balance with it, because I come from a very neutral standpoint. Like, I don't want to say I don't care, but I don't allow it to affect me. I will say that it's fucked up, but we don't need to go any further than that. We both agree that it's fucked up.
I don't think, and this is the issue that I have. Obviously, I'm invested in it.
You are invested in it, yeah.
But I don't care. I don't want someone to be as invested emotionally as I can be sometimes, because it's not their area of expertise. I want them to understand that they play a part in this and continue to be aware. And which makes it hard, because our society is constantly trying to make them not be aware. I can't put all that on you, because it's not your job. It's my job to be making you aware, right? At least that's how things are going with the way that people in society work, they eat, they have their own lives. But I still feel like us as species, it's our duty to collectively at least have a thought together, you know? And so everyone's going about their daily lives, and nobody, I'm not asking for people to stop every single time something happens, but just being more aware of things are going on. And it's not even about being vigilant. I don't want people to be vigilant. And you can't waste your time anticipating something, because things are always going on. So I don't know what I'm asking. Just be more aware? I don't know.
I think you can have the sense of being aware of it. Like I feel like I'm aware of what's going on, but do I know all the details of it? No, because there's too many things that are like it's like put it like this. I came to this conclusion a couple years ago. I'm gonna eat what I want to eat because it's like fuck it. Because if I start going down the rabbit hole of what's in my food, how it's processed, all that shit, I might as well just learn how to breathe air to survive off of that. And that's not an interest of mine. And that's how far it goes when you start thinking about like when you start getting that invested personally for me when you start getting that invested in all the amount of injustices because there is a lot. And I'm not saying like if I had a vote to stop it or to keep it going, I'm definitely gonna say hit the button to stop it. I don't need to know all the details of it. Like it's just like, yeah, just fucking stop it. But it's for me, it doesn't come to my piece to know all of the gruesome details of everything that's happening because I'll give you a perfect example. While I was working, I had gotten pulled over by a cop and I did make a questionable turn, but it was legal. I at least I thought I had to question whether it was legal. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I was okay to do that. Yeah, I was fine. So, but here's the thing: he pulled me over to ask me a question about FedEx. That's all it was. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. And granted, I wear a do rag at work because I protect my hair. I'm black. I'm delivering in a predominantly white neighborhood. There was a lot of things that could have probably possibly made that situation be a lot more negative. But in my experience, I haven't had too many negative confrontations when it comes to police officers, but I feel like, per my beliefs, that if I start looking at all of the bullshit that comes with police, I'm going to attract that to myself. I know that I'm not ignorant towards it, but I feel like if I invest my energy into diving into that rabbit hole of all the fucked upness about it, I'm going to attract it. And that's not what I want to attract. So that's my viewpoint.
You bring up a good point. To extend that from my perspective, I get so hung up on I want more people to see this now so that more people can help now and we all rise up together now. But that's my perception of it. Mm-hmm. That's not the divine destiny. That is not other people's destiny, and my destiny is intertwined with other people. And I know this, but it's like a complex when you're in this work, everything's personal. Like you feel like you're carrying the world on your shoulders. So there are times when I have to check myself and be like, Jantel, you can't do everything. And what's going on in the world,
it's just completely fucked up. It's completely like I will say one of the things, and this might be a thing from my past lives, but one thing I absolutely cannot stand is when old ass white men feel like they have a say over women's bodies. Now, me, I'm a lesbian. There is no way I'm getting pregnant unless I get raped or something like that. But that is not something in my experience.
That's a very possible situation.
But my thing, and this is I actually had to deal with this twice. So my thing is that to me is fucked up, and it's so fucked up that there's no way this shit is going to stand any longer than it is. Like it's seriously going to be dropped off very, very quickly, right? Yeah. Even though it's there's no way that this shit is going to continue on for the next 5-10 years. Seriously, it's just there's so many women rising to power. There's so many men that understand it. There's so many men that are understanding of even if they don't give a fuck about other women, their wife, their daughters, their nieces. You know what I mean? It's just like put that in their situation and then tell me if you really feel like that's still valid. This shit's gonna fall off in a heartbeat. But I will say that when on a similar notion, I had to make a difficult decision because I don't take vaccines. That is my belief. Seriously, I don't care about my food, but you're not gonna shoot me in this fucker. But when I worked at a hospital, I had to get the flu shot. I had to get it because I worked there. And at the time I felt like I just couldn't leave the job there. And you could get a religious exempt. Per my beliefs, I don't want to fucking get it. I probably would have shown a character that nobody would have thought I was capable of if someone would have told me that my religious beliefs, which are my spirituality, is not enough to not get it. I didn't go that far as to use the religious exempt because that was my choice. I chose not to use that, and I got a variation of the flu shot. But that was still put me in a very difficult position because it's either I wall out and lose the job that I need right now, or I choose the lesser of two evils. Mm-hmm. And I chose the lesser of two evils. But trust me, there was a lot of turmoil that went into that decision as well. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know what? I'd rather not fuck up this opportunity right now. I'll take the lesser of two evils. But that seems to be where that level of discernment and thinking about it and talking about it is not where a lot of people tend to be when it comes to a lot of this activism. It's like a straight bullheaded approach. They're going to march straight into HR's office and be like, my beliefs are this and you cannot stop it. Yeah, they can. That's the position that they're at right now. But you can choose the lesser of two evils. Be okay with self. Because at the end of the day, I was okay with my decision because I made that decision myself. I had to make the decision, but I chose the best outcome for myself. And that's what people tend to not prioritize their self, it's their beliefs that they take so strongly and try to press upon other people, and that makes you disintegrate yourself more. Take it out of context. It's the same way of saying, I believe that gay people are going to go to hell. You're not you're not giving yourself self-preservation, because what if your kids end up being gay, and now because you decide to disown them, now yourself is fucked up. Even if your beliefs are saying that I think they're going to go to hell, you're going to lose a relationship to people that you love and care about because of your beliefs. What's the lesser of two evils? I'm going to accept my children for who they are. I'm not going to be a dick and fucking embrace my children I'm going to embrace my children for who they are and love them for who they are, even if I still think X, Y, and Z. Because that's the lesser of two evil, and that's the self-preservation that I feel like is something that is just not taught when it comes to people who are trying to like advocate for the things that are going wrong. I'm not saying what you're doing is not valid and that it's not needed, but self-preservation is extremely needed. Actually, I think me and Mel were giving a lot of readings and a lot of energy work during a lot of the Black Lives Matter protests because there were so many people holding on to so many negative energies.
I wish I knew.
Yeah, there was so many people holding on to so much negative energy that weren't allowing these energies to flow through them, to not hold on to the stuff that they were fucking up their lives, they were fucking up work, their mental state was not where they wanted it to be. And try to come at these situations as whole as you can. That starts with self-preservation. And that's just, my thought process on it.
No, seriously, I completely agree and understand where you're coming from. I went through some shit last year from going to protest. I had hundreds of threats, death threats from racists. I was chased by a police helicopter around West Philly, high-speed chase. I witnessed a lot of things that no one would ever fathom. And the only outlet I had at the time was the show that I had prior to this. And once I did try to find other outlets, people judge. So I ended up going through therapy, which I'm still going through now.
Which is awesome.
It's freaking awesome.
Use therapy, black. People. Use therapy. Yeah, my therapist is black.
Yeah. Yes. Get you a black therapist or a person of color. If you're a person of color, like seriously, it really does make a huge.
There is a lot of value in having a therapist. Like actually, my therapist she's black with freckles and dreadlocks.
Yes.
I fucking love it, and she's very spiritual too. So it really helps out that she's able to understand where I'm coming from, and that's
mine meditates with me.
Yeah, there's a level of understanding, and it's not to discredit anybody who's went to school for it who is not a person of color, but you just gotta admit there's just things that there's an understanding. Like people of color tell I'm not gonna lie, I look at white people crazy sometimes to the shit that they say. I wouldn't want somebody who's confiding in me looking at me like I'm crazy because right. I told them, I give you a perfect a funny like example of why I chose to make sure I had somebody of color. I was doing pest control with a white gentleman, and nice guy, love him to death. He's awesome. And I went into a tenant's house. We went to a tenant's house, and they had their oven open, and they were drying their clothes with the oven door open, right? To me, I was like, it's the middle of winter. I get it. I've done this. Yeah. You know what I mean? To me, it was nothing. He couldn't fathom it. He was like, why not just go to the laundromat? Like, why are you got your drawers hanging out and da-da-da-da? And I'm like, you just don't get, like, it's a mindset. And it's a simple mindset. I'm not judging him for not knowing. I had a coworker tell me that he broke his hand in 2 different positions because he was mad about something. And I'm like, the fuck? Granted, he let the anger out, which we probably should do, instead of bottling them up and pay for therapy later.
But now you got
But it was still like, that's not a response that I would think of. You know
Right.
what I mean? And I had to tell them the funny story of when I was in high school, I learned that white people get ashy. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know. I was literally my friend Tara. I was like, oh shit, y'all get ashy too. It's a mindset. You know what I mean? And you want somebody who can just relate to you. And honestly, it's easier to talk to somebody who looks like you. It's just easier. You get it. You know what I mean? And that's just something that helps. That's just something that helps when it comes to therapy. And there are amazing, amazing resources, people out there. And I shit you not, when I used to post about my therapy on Facebook, people would always say, I wish I could afford it. I shit you not, my therapist, when I was in between jobs and I couldn't afford the sessions because I was paying out of pocket, she asked me, do you think the therapy is helping? I'm like, fuck yeah. And she's like, we'll put you at this price range. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, literally,
don't let price deter you from therapy.
don't, because you never know. People will do pro bono work. People will do a lot of things to help you get you where you're at. Granted, it wasn't the easiest. I felt like it was divine intervention on how I ended up meeting up with her.
Same.
But there's always ways out there that can help you. I've introduced my therapist to a couple other people that have asked me who I work with, and it's beautiful. There's always a way to do it. Okay. That's my stitch on therapy.
Even if you're not an activist and don't have that level of trauma, people of color and Black people, especially being on the lower social level of class, and if you're really poor, chances are you've been affected by a number of things that have affected you mentally, metaphysically, and spiritually. And a therapist, as much as we don't like to talk about it, a lot of times in our communities, especially like older generations, a lot of the younger generations now are getting into it, and I do it over video.
Me too. Yeah.
Given COVID, statistics show that a lot more youth and young adults and millennials are actually, and people of color have taken more to video therapy therapy more than any other time.
Yeah, it makes sense, because I think people are really understanding that their mindset is so important. And honestly, you have somebody who has studied how to help you and looks like you, understands your situations, and you have an unbiased person talking to you about, they're not pushing. Like, if you talk to your homeboy or homegirl about some shit, like, I've had friends talk to me about shit and I'm like, bro, I'm gonna give it to you, bro. That's some bullshit. You know what I mean? It feels good to talk about these things that are bothering you. And you have an unbiased paid professional that is here to give you the advice that will help you move forward. And there's nothing better than, it's fucking awesome. You know what I mean? Talking to your homeboy or homegirl that are in the same bullshit that you're in may not be the best way to go about it. Just saying.
Especially not all the time.
Yeah.
They're only gonna listen, but so much. And face it, we all got our own baggage and stuff going on. We don't need to put it on other people. And it's kind of like just playing bounce around with the ball.
Yeah.
I want to ask this one last thing before we wrap it up, because it's like 50 minutes. With pockets of people and more people forming a cohesive collective, so to speak, I can't remember where and I never really thought about it, but like, because I don't see borders, but borders have been enacted, so therefore people within those borders form more of a personality, so to speak. So I see countries as having their own level of frequency or spirituality, or like India is farther along than we are. They're at a point where they don't care about outward appearance because they're more spiritually in tune with themselves. And it shows. The Ganges River is one of the most toxic rivers in the world, but they still bathe in it and drink it, and it doesn't affect them. It has no effect on them. So like, and then you look at America, corporate consumption, but where we are now in the state of turmoil and environmental crisis, I would at least say the past 20 years that I've seen an increase in people more open to like getting an RV and abandoning the American dream and really thinking about what's going on inside and not what they're seeing. Like no one's paying attention to what's going on around them, because they're too busy working and eating and shitting. That's all you're doing. And then you wake up one day and you're like, I just wasted half my life. Let me go actually live. I'm seeing more of that happening in America, so I don't think that America's necessarily going to be on the same trajectory that I thought it was going to be. But then you got other countries that are kind of in the middle. And so, like, I want to know what you think about that, and like different countries having different vibes as like a person would.
I think that that's true. I think that there's definitely like when you go to certain places and do certain things. Like I had like Mel's sister was in Japan and she's a vegetarian. Yeah, she's a vegetarian and she was down there eating the fruit and she's like, fuck, like she's like, this is what a banana should taste like. There are definite differences, even if you go state to state. Like Arizona is one of the highest vibrational places that you can go in the United States, just because of the, oh my God, the amount of crystals and stuff that are there. Definitely life goal is to go mining there one day. But they are that's why a lot of people are attracted to going to the woods, just because of the vibration out in those areas. They're so much different than where it is in a congested area. And I think that you're absolutely correct. Like when it comes to places like India, they are very vibrant with their colors. Like, and that's a big thing too. Like a lot of people, when you wear certain colors, it brings out that certain vibration in the colors, and their pattern work, their intricacy to everything is absolutely phenomenal. Even in Africa, the same thing. The colors that they have, waist beads came over to here in America, and people are wearing it like they haven't had it in Africa for I don't know how long. It's because of the energy that comes from expressing those different colors, and you wearing them are is raising your vibration in that state. And I will say that that's why I know that there are going to be immense changes. I think the government, the shit that is keeping us in a certain place is definitely shutting down. They want so much control. That's why they put fluoride in the water. That's why they put so many pesticides in the food and things like that. That's why they have us so dependent on eating things that we don't know exactly what it is. They want the control of the human consciousness, but what they never took into consideration is that outside of that, we have each other and we're learning from each other, and we're not just taking everything at face value.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there are so many situations where people just went with the flow of everything and never questioned it. Like when the during whatever war was against the Japanese, they came over to people in America who were citizens of America their entire fucking life and just uprooted them from their house and had them in concentration camps. Those kids that dealt with that are still alive to this day, and they remember that shit happening. That shit is still happening now to this day. But when I tell you people are cutting that shit off in a heartbeat, that's why I knew they're not going to reintroduce this mask mandate, because what's happening is people are going to act out because they don't want this to happen. When people get fed up, when enough people get fed up with the bullshit, it's not going to be able to happen. You know what I mean? They could say, "Oh, mask mandate," but now it's like, like now it's like, "Oh, it's a courtesy. If you want to be courteous and put it on, please do." But certain businesses are like, "Okay, we do, we don't, we do, we don't." I on my route, I have an animal hospital that is strictly, please wear your mask when you go inside. They don't say anything to me if I forget to put it in when I deliver their stuff. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. It's like when enough people are fed up with something or for something, the change happens. And I think over the past, I don't know how many years, when people were just being open to the things that are in our food, the shit that's being said, I don't think many people are really believing the shit that they're being told anymore. They're like, I'm gonna do a little bit more research on that. Like all that shit that's happening in the ocean, bitch, you gonna tell me some shit ain't about to pop up in the ocean? Come on now. Like you knew damn well you didn't have to go in there. Why? You're just gonna tell me like there was an oil fire in the ocean? No, some crazy shit happened, and people are doing research. They're looking into it. Everybody, they're finding out for themselves. And I think as soon as like enough people continue to do that, there is just going to be a collective, humongous change overall. And I think that's what's happening. And it's unfortunate, but like I know some older people are changing as well. But you got to think about it. When people our age, there's only going to be about 20 years until the people our age are in office, are making the shots, are calling the shots. It's only like, think about age-wise, it's only 10, 20 years before people start moving up and pushing out the people that set the rules in the first place. Right now, the people that think about women's rights are a group of old-ass men. They about to die soon.
Yep.
There's gonna be so many rules and changes. Like people, there's so much information out there. You can only be but so manipulative before people are like, nah, I don't believe that. That's why less and less people are voting. They don't believe in the system anymore. They don't think that it works. That's why less and less people are eating fast food. That's why less and less people are drinking more water. People are meditating more. People are doing things for their health, for their mindset. And there's a consistent change that's going on. And I think it's all a matter of time. Yes, there always has to be a craziness before the calmness comes. Shit has to be uprooted. You have to see the bullshit before you change it. The change. That's why, like, you can't like. That's why when Trump was in office, I was like, I knew Trump was going to get voted for. I knew he was going to win. I didn't think he was going to win twice. Did he win twice? Once.
Once.
I knew he was going to win. I knew that there was going to be a whole bunch of bullshit. When COVID hit, I knew this shit was going to Here's the thing: there was always racists out there, but because they felt like they could talk this shit, they had to be pushed up. You had to see it. They felt like they could talk about this shit open and freely, and they did, but shit happened to them. They got the repercussions of it. You had to see the bullshit before you can change it. You can't change racism if you don't see it, if it's not there. You know what I mean? And everything that you have to see the bullshit before the change can happen. And I think all the bullshit is coming out. That's why people are looking at going to other countries. You know what I mean? Like, yes, there are. I think it's maybe Russia or somebody like that who's like a complete dictatorship over there. And it's like, okay, one motherfucker makes all the rules for everything. And it sounds fucked up, but they're one of the most. I think no. It's a Spanish country. I can't. I don't know where it's at, but there's a Spanish country where like it's extremely expensive to live there. They have like one person dictating everything. But here's the thing: they don't charge for college. Everybody who works there, everybody who lives there has to go to college, has to have a trade, has to have a skill. And because of that, you have to. If you're physically capable, you have to. The country is thriving because everybody is contributing. Mm-hmm. Now, people are like, you can't tell me what to go to school for, bitch. If you could just tell me I can go to school for whatever the fuck I want and there's no fee for it, granted,
you're gonna figure out somewhere.
Granted, doctors make the same as teachers. The economy is level. You know what I mean? But the same time you go to school to be a doctor, you have that practice. You go to school to be a teacher. You're an awesome teacher. The pay is level there. You know what I mean? And that's the shit that makes it important. It's not about money. You're living. You're able to live off of your income. It's not a because you're a teacher you make shit. No, you're a teacher, you make the same as a doctor. So some people over here may think that's unfair, but if that's your passion and you really enjoy doing it, yes, that's the reason you went to school for it.
But when you're happy, it also has an effect on your vibration.
And you're able to live for it. You don't regret your decision for teaching because you can't afford your supplies for your students or anything like that. You don't regret it because first of all, you went to school for free. You're doing what you love and you're passionate about. And you don't have to be like, oh, I should have went to school for something more serious.
And look at the ripple effect of that and how it inspires other people, even within that own family or the extended family. Whereas here, we do have a culture of individualism. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think on some ends that can be really good. But I do miss a thicker sense of community.
Yeah. There are, and it's certain things. You look at other cultures and they have like 3 or 4 generations living in one house. Now, granted,
right, do like my privacy, but
you have to think about the financial gains of it. If everybody's living in a house, grandma can be cooking, mom and dad can be out to work, grandma can be watching the baby. They're raised with the same family values. Granted, that's works for you or not, but you got to think of the logic behind it. People get so emotional about it and they're like, I couldn't do that, but you got to understand, I don't have to pay all the money to put Nana in a nursing home because she's died at home. She died with her family. She's surrounded by family all day and the values and everything like that. And that's how, some people like in New York, they're kind of forced to do that. You know what I mean? Because it's very expensive to live out there and it's hard to live off of one income. But in the countries where that is something valued, their houses are built for that. You know what I mean? A 5-6 bedroom house, it's natural for the houses to be built like that because that's their values. So they don't worry about space. It's not like they have 8 families living in a 2-bedroom apartment. You know what I mean? 8 family members living in a 2-bedroom apartment. These are the things that they have done in their culture that make sense for the collective. You know what I mean? And that's what helps drive it forward. Yes, there may be some things that because we were raised in America don't make sense, but it's like universal health care. You know what I mean? It makes sense. I saw a video where this guy went went over the border to Canada to get his insulin,
Yep.
paid $60 for like a 12-month supply, where it would have been like $30,000 for him to get it over here. It's fucking bullshit. As a collective in Canada, they're like, if you die, you can't work and support the economy. Here's free health. Yes, have your child for free. Yes, take 6 months off to take care of your newborn child after your body fucking pushes out another living being. You know what I mean? It's like, do this. It makes sense. Be healthy. Give the nutrients to your child. Have some bonding time. There's some countries where the father has maternity time with the child as well.
Yeah.
They're together.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It makes sense for a thriving community, but I feel like because we're slower, a lot of people think America's so advanced in a lot of in ways.
No
you know,
way.
and it's really not. You know what I mean? I met somebody from Cuba.
Oh, everybody's a doctor.
Look, I met him over there. Look,
they are.
I met him from
doing
over
their
there. He
thing.
was like, yeah, we buy. He was like, honestly, your clothes over here are a lot cheaper than what they are over there. But he was like, our cell phones are shit. And I'm like, what do you mean? He showed me his phone. I was like, God damn. But then you're ignorant to think that because he's from another country, he's retarded or they're not as advanced as we are. It's like
America propaganda.
That's exactly what it is. So I think America is slower on growing themselves as other countries were like, it works, let's institute it, let's get it going. That's why other countries, when they had their first case of COVID, they shut everything the fuck down and they were able to get rid of it a hell of a lot faster than we were.
They bounced back fast.
And they weren't worried about it at all. They were like, no, we're gonna knock this shit out right now, no ifs, ands, or buts. But no, over here we want to be so righteous and have our opinions thrown out.
I really think it's a matter of like we're saying, the frequencies of the collective here in America. And don't get me wrong, there's other countries that are in turmoil, like countries with Muslim and Christian populations, or warring populations tend to have a lot of disruptance in their energy too. But let's look at like what's it Bhutan. Bhutan used to be, like they said, there's spiritual nexuses on the earth. Bhutan was Nepal is the current one. But they said it's about to change soon, like every few hundred years or something it changes. I know there was one that they know of where it was before Nepal. Can't remember what it was now, but I'll find it and I'll let you know. But they say that it changes every so often. So that's kind of like my basis for this whole.
It's all going to change. That's what, and that's ultimately where I bring my peace of mind, because it's just going to keep changing it's going to keep getting better. Like I'll say it again, you have to see the bullshit before you can change it. That's why I can't get mad that if someone's being racist. Honestly, I was joking with Mel the other day because I wear my headphones while I'm at work, and you might not be able to tell I have headphones in because they're the ones that go like right in my ear. So I was laughing because I was talking to Mel on the phone while I was delivering a package, and I just happened to say, "Okay, have a nice day," and kept on going. And then when I got back to the truck, and I was like, I'm pretty sure he probably said something negative. Whatever, because I can't hear you. I physically cannot hear what you're saying, right? So it's really no big deal. But Mel was like, that probably would fuck up somebody's entire day if they were being rude to somebody and they're like, okay, have a nice day, and then keep on pushing, and I'm like, but that's my level of fuck it already. Like, I don't, even if I didn't have my headphones in and you said something, and I'm like, okay, bye. Because I'm like, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because you're not going to implement your negativity on my life. And that's just, I'm not being ignorant. I'm dismissing your negativity because it has no purpose here. Because what I could do is hold on to it, think about it, feel it, all of that bullshit. Or I could just be like, no. And that's the place that I choose. And that's the place that keeps me at a good mental state. Because trust me, I have a lot of shit up here that I need to think about and process anyway, besides your negativity.
Damn. No. That, and we're gonna wrap it up there, because I think we came full circle, and that was the last thing I wanted to ask you about. But just to end on a note real quick, I completely agree with Amber. I see a lot of people that just even have a tinge of spiritual inclination and some kind of feeling about something, all collectively are saying that their feeling shifts and that they have a really optimistic outlook on the progression of not just Mother Earth and our home, but us as a species, because we're not toddlers even, we're babies. And honestly, America as a country is still, it's like a whiny 13-year-old that really hasn't gone anywhere yet. So give him grace. And just by extension, like the world in general, because I think that there are a lot of us see like we're like anteaters. We're just cleaning stuff up. And
yeah, I think we're just a generation that was here to clean shit up, bring shit up into the light. I hope I'm projected forward in the next lifetime. I'll feel like going through this shit again.
All right, y'all. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you have any questions about any of the stuff we talked about, please feel free. Drop stuff in the comments. If you have any information that you know of that you want to talk about, feel free to drop them in the comments as well. Mm-hmm. And other than that, have a great day.
Bye, guys.